Lieutenant O'Shea, I don't think he.
Right. Bear with me, I just lost my screen. Okay, there we are. Okay, it is 6:31, and I would like to call to order the Scituate Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion meeting for November 9th. Let me go ahead and read the declaration, then I'll call the meeting to order. Governor Baker's declaration, due to his declaration of a public health emergency and the related emergency executive order dated March 12th, 2020, the town of Scituate public meetings at least have the option to meet remotely, which we are doing, until April 22nd, 2022. This meeting, let's get this off my screen. This meeting will be recorded by Scituate Community Television and can be viewed live on Scituate Community Television Facebook Live. The recorded meeting will be available the following day on Comcast Channel 9 and YouTube Scituate Community Television. So with that, I would like to call the meeting to order. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so let's take the roll. Jim Six Tiger.
Present.
Ms. Galata.
Present.
Ms. Swope.
Here.
Reverend Stewart.
Here.
And here. So we will mark absent Ruth Yassine, Celia Risha, and we should be Lieutenant O'Shea, and hopefully we will have Ms. Dre attend a little bit later. Okay. Bear with me one second. So with the exception of last meeting, at this point, this is the point where I or the previous chair would read a safe or secure space statement, which I am going to read something. That does not necessarily mean that this is our final statement. Okay, but I did, I was gonna say I worked with Ms. Dre, but I did not. She gave me the statement and I said, this is great. So here goes. This is a safe, secure space for all people, especially people of color, and for all underrepresented people and communities. This is a space where people can bring up challenges and questions without fear. We will assume best intentions, and we will treat one another with politeness and respect at all times. This committee is dedicated to these standards. We want our members and others joining our meetings to feel welcomed and respected. Thank you, Angela, for that. Okay. Ms. Yassine, as she always does, published very detailed minutes for the last meeting. Does anyone have any, welcome, Ms. Dre. Does anyone have any commentary, edits, revisions, etc. on the meeting, on the minutes from October 12th?
I don't, but Tom, I'm wondering who's taking minutes tonight. Is that you?
This is being recorded.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're gonna give her the work when she comes home.
If someone would like to, take notes, I'm not going to call them minutes because it's hard to step into her shoes. That would be awesome. Yeah, she said, I mean, if people can take notes, then they'll send them along to her. Thank you for bringing that up. She'll certainly leverage them, and then she will look at the video.
Okay, all right. Sorry to interrupt the flow. I just want to make sure we had that covered.
Yeah, no. Thank you.
I wouldn't even pretend to take minutes half as good as she does, but
yeah, she's pretty good. She's pretty good.
I will attempt some notes maybe to pass on.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the minutes from the last meeting, they were, very detailed. She captured, in my opinion, she captured everything. But I mean, we had, some very good discussions around, especially the Brave safe space discussion. So there was a lot in there. So any commentary at all on the minutes? Okay. All right, then I will move to accept the minutes. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so roll call vote on that. Mr. Six Tiger,
Present.
Ms. Galata,
Yes. Present.
Rev-
Whatever.
Reverend Stewart,
Yes.
yes, present, aye, it all works. Ms. Swope,
Yes.
Ms. Trey,
Yes.
and I am a yes, so accepted. Okay, let's just keep moving. So liaison reports. Maura, town meeting, anything, town meeting from a few weeks ago now, right? I think
Sure, I know. I was trying to think back. I was looking at the previous date and it
when
seemed
was
like-
the power out again?
I know, it just seems like a year ago, since we had that big storm. But yeah, town meeting, we made the decision to move forward because we had some time constraints on us with regards to the purchase of that land over on Border Street. So I think we're all pretty confident that we made the right call. 700 people showed up. So one of the largest town meetings that we've had in quite a while, which was great. But that's what happens, right? When you have a passionate topic, people show up. So it was good. It obviously passed and the select board in a vote, accepted the offer and moved on the purchase and sale. So that transaction is moving forward, which is good. So that's probably the biggest news. Other than that, really starting budgeting time. So as we go through the next months, all the departments are reviewing their budgets for the preparation for full year, fiscal year 2023. So that is commencing right now as we speak. And yesterday, or actually Sunday, sorry, I can't believe it's only Tuesday. Sunday, we welcomed the ambassador from Ireland to the US, which was very exciting. So as part of the sister city, just some of those things that hopefully we can anticipate as we expand our sister city efforts that Angela's looking into. But the ambassador visited the South Shore, which was very exciting. First time here, really spoke about the importance of, sharing our heritage, right? So it was really nice to have him here. So that there was a nice dinner that Brian Houlihan hosted everyone at on Sunday. So very nice events. That was, I think, the biggest exciting news. And yeah, the storm, our town just did a really fabulous job. Really proud of the work and the relationship that we have with the utility companies. I don't know about you, but I had tears in my eyes when the trucks were leaving. It was just amazing. The caravan of help that we received from Canada and from other neighboring towns and states to get us up and running. And just to give you sort of an idea, we had reportedly 300 trees come down. And, that's not branches, that's trees, big oaks. I think many of you probably saw it around town. So the town really was devastated. And I think everyone in the DPW, the public safety departments, everyone worked really, really hard to clear the roads, keep everyone safe and get power back up as quickly as possible. So yeah, we weren't expecting that storm and we got hammered, that's for sure. So, thank you to all who participated in getting that up and running. And other than that, last week we had a board meeting and that's really what we covered. Was the biggest issue really was to certify that land purchase, which we did. And that's really it. That's all I have. And I can answer any questions for anybody if something else has popped up that you would like to ask.
Anything from anyone? Okay,
White group tonight?
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll
Thank
see.
you.
Thank you. I want to just flip the bullets real quick, Jamil, and just cover. I just want to cover Stride real quick first. Ruth, again from somewhere in Europe, sent me an update on Stride. I want to touch on it because it may be a segue into some of the stuff with the schools, but there was a Stride community conversation that was put together, and I apologize because I don't think I forwarded the invite to everyone. There was an initial discussion, I think, on Friday, I think October 22nd, Friday morning, and then there was a Sunday night discussion on Zoom hosted by Stride, and that was to just bring whoever wanted to attend. Again, I guess you had to have the invite, but or be aware that it was happening, to process the blog style website that a Scituate High School student created that week. So the week of whatever, the 18th, let's say. And a lot of people read it. I'm not sure if everybody on this meeting is aware of it, that it was out there. It's no longer out there, but it was a Scituate High School student that, and it included assertions of white supremacy, extremist language, hate speech, targeting a whole host of groups. It was basically a manifesto. It was shared widely, went viral. You know, all of my kids were aware of it, including my college student down in New York City. And the conversation I thought was excellent. That, you know, Stride stepped up and hosted that for the community, and I did attend it. It was just an hour long, included breakout groups and so forth, and there were no action items or anything of that nature. It was really just if you wanted to just get on and kind of talk about it, and how it maybe impacted you. How would you react if it was your kid? It was that type of a discussion. So that was good, and I was grateful to Pride to the Stride group for doing that. Continuing just briefly on the Stride theme, unfortunately, on the heels of that, they had to cancel their regularly scheduled meeting because of the power outage, and that was going to be, I believe it was going to be 100% focused on Indigenous peoples. So they are going to look to reschedule that, I believe, for December 15th, and we'll circulate more information on that when that comes due. And then there is another Stride meeting, again, regularly scheduled for Wednesday, November 17th, with Scituate resident and Northeastern University professor Ted Miller is going to be speaking on national extremism, local connections. I believe is the name of the speech, followed by a Q&A session. So ScituateStride.org, if you guys want to go and look up some of that information, or anybody else that's going to view this, ScituateStride.org. So that's my Stride update. I do want to talk about the idea, I think, Jamil, that you had around having, you know, kind of representatives of our group, Stride, Pride, whoever else, to have, you know, kind of a regular liaison meeting. But we can get to that. Okay, Jamil, the floor is yours if you want to touch on Scituate schools.
And I was like, right to me. Okay, I wasn't sure you were going to do that. So yeah, we had a scheduled connection between myself and folks representing our family here and representing Stride. And then we had a death in our family. My wife's father died, and so we had to.
Sorry.
all of that happened right after it was COVID related as well. So, but it happened right after the storm, the next day. So that happened. So we had to shift that around. And so I believe we rescheduled it, and it'll be this Friday. Unfortunately, it'll be a Zoom because I actually will be connecting with another district, but they're going to set up a place for me to meet with folks. So we'll have our initial meeting, and it'll be myself and folks from here and folks from Stride as well. I'm still working with Nikki on trying to get some Scituate Pride representation. So we'll look for that to happen at some point. So it'll take places. I'm looking forward to Friday, Angela. It's just taking a lot of time to get this thing scheduled, and then we had the death happen and just threw things off. So I'm looking forward to that happening. Some other things that are happening that also connect to outpouring from the report that our folks received. So I guess I want to share that it is appreciated that folks connected and reported things to the staff and the folks at the high school. That demonstrates a level of appreciation and trust. The other thing I'll share is that the folks at the high school are on and making some things happen. They're responsive, and there were several is an understatement, a lot of connecting points with varying groups of students as well that continue to happen. Connected from that, I actually met with a parent earlier today in that regard as well. It was a good meeting. Speaking of parents, tomorrow is the first meeting of LitPAG, which is the Parental Advisory Group for the Leverkusen Trust. So we have, I want to say, about 13 parents at this point that have identified themselves. I suspect that will grow, and that'll be fine. I'm looking forward to that. Another thing that is happening is that I'm working with Jesse from the library, and the library is all in on doing some things right now. They've activated this thing with a tree, and it's allowing folks to put affirmations and positive affirmations wishes on this tree. At the same time, they're promoting a lot of books that are connected to equity and inclusion, and actually will add on to that list. Another thing that we're working on, we'll meet probably next week in person, and we'll discuss a discussion series that will take place at the library as well as connected to DEI and LIT. So those are some things that are happening as well that we're looking forward to. The lit teams are pretty much they're all activated, but some a little bit more than others. And to this end, since we're giving David Stevens some love, I'll give him some more love. That we're the first thing coming out from the lit teams are going to be adding some different flavors from different cultures to the culinary choices that our students are able to absorb. And so the teams will begin to get some menu items to David, and then he'll make sure that they end up served to the students. So that's something we're really looking forward to, that the students are excited about. Also, the groups are beginning to put together some things for what will happen. I feel confident sharing this with you all now, that there will be a MLK Memorial, the first, and hopefully be an annual that'll take place on the actual day, the national holiday, in the PAC, and it'll be at 1 p.m. And so there's some more pieces to come into play before I can just share everything that's happening. But the hope is to have representation at least from all of the schools in the district and some community folks. So those are some things that are happening. The Lit line continues to be active and receive messages on a regular basis. The current one, well, the one that will be coming up on Monday, will lend some credence to acknowledging that it's Indigenous Folks Month, but it's not just the month, it's more than that. And prior to that, Stride had, and they'll be doing the one for next week, but they have a current one that's encouraging people to appreciate their uniqueness and their unique selves and love themselves. And so I think that's probably, make sure I didn't forget anything that I may have wanted to mention further. I think that's it for right now. Are there any questions or anything like that?
Any additional progress with the Freedom Team?
Oh, well, yeah. We I put a call out to the two folks from the Interfaith Council, and I got a call back from one of them, and so we were just waiting for that piece to happen. So thanks to the chief for helping to pull that off. And so I believe that at the end of this week, I'll send an email to the folks who are identified at this point, and we'll have our first meeting either the last week in this month or the first week in December. So we're right there. And once we have that happening, the next steps will be to create a web presence, have a phone number and an email address connected to it as well. And then we'll have an official unveiling of the team, probably through the Mariner and things like that in these meetings and stuff. So it's right there.
Excellent.
Mhm.
That's fantastic. Any questions for Jamil?
No, but I wanted to say how Jessie, you mentioned from the Scituate Library, she's wonderful. She worked with us this summer, and I think they do a wonderful job bringing things to the community. I started to follow them on Facebook because they do have, some wonderful programs and different things that, if I'm not out or I'm not at the library, I don't see it, but I would suggest that people follow their Scituate Town Library Facebook page.
Thanks, Angela. Okay. All right, let's keep moving. All right, so I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting about Brave Spaces, okay, and continuation of discussions from the last meeting where there was a lot of discussion. I know I haven't been a part of any discussion since the last meeting. If we've made any more progress on that, the meeting, the minutes themselves were, I think there was a page and a half or 2 pages just on this discussion. It was a great discussion. This is going to be, not to spoil the lead or anything, but I am going to share just a very, very draft recommendations PowerPoint deck later in this meeting. And I would love to have, some type of a safe space declaration be part of our recommendations for the select board. We'll talk a little bit later more as to when we feel that we can get in front of the select board, and maybe that will be the date to say, okay, we're all pushing towards that date, right? So I'm going to stop talking. Has there been any progress made since the last meeting? And Angela, I read what you wrote and everybody loved it, right?
Short and sweet,
was
I
good.
think, I agree, Tom. The conversation was great at our last meeting. And I think we can, to Jamil's point, create our own, that speaks to, what we want to, for it to represent for us in Scituate. So I'm confident that we will come up with a great statement to be used to propose to the select board, and an updated version for our own committee. Celia and I spoke once or twice, but as we know, she's very busy right now, so we didn't get very far. And I don't think anyone emailed anything specific, so I will try to draft something, and Celia shared some other feedback that she received, so I think it's still a work in progress.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have, again, when we get to, I don't think we have anyone joining for public comment. I don't see anybody in the waiting room or anything of that nature. not that they can't join later, but we can skip over that. So I'm going to go right to the project plan, and I'm going to share my screen. I'll probably flip back and forth between a couple of things, if you don't mind. Okay, I'm going to show this. All right, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Mhm.
So again, very draft. Okay, so and I will, when I get a little further along with it, people can give me ideas, obviously, whenever they want, now, tomorrow, the next day. But what I intend to do is, and I don't want to railroad any of this, but so the deck itself, and Maura, this is going to be for you and your team, right?
Okay,
And I went back through, the previous meeting where we in front of the select board, and Chair Sanders had some great ideas, and yourself and select board member Canfield gave forwarded some notes around review, report, recommend, and these types of things. So that's what I'm trying to adhere to here. So, and every now and again, it's probably important for all of us to review our charge, right? So this is what we all signed up for. Okay. And this is verbatim. I didn't write this. This is just a cut and paste from the initial charge, which I don't really think has changed outside of the fact that this should not say the Board of Selectmen. So I will change that part of it.
it's okay. I still say it.
Editorial control. So I'll go back and look at
I
that.
still get in trouble, Tom.
That's all right. So again, review, report, recommend. Okay, so that's our charge. Like I said, I'll email this out, and I'll also put it on Slack. These were the goals that we agreed to. So this was before your time, Mr. Six Tiger and Ms. Galata. Okay, but there was a lot of discussion around what are our goals. Okay, and you can see the three main topics. So community education, increasing representation in town employees, and then looking after the diverse communities within Scituate and what they may encounter in terms of discrimination, harassment, et cetera. Okay, so we don't have to necessarily go through this right now, but this doesn't have to be, this can change between now and whenever we think it's going to be appropriate to get in front of the select board. And some of those communicating with, I think I was communicating with Lorraine Devon around potentially December 7th or December 21st. I don't think we necessarily have to decide on those dates right now, but I think those are the two dates that will work. There's another date, I think, next week, and I don't think we're going to be ready. But at least we can get a date out there in December, and we can kind of march towards that. But so these are just 6. It doesn't mean that all of these are going to mushroom into a recommendation. Number 5 here will not necessarily, I don't think, be our recommendation, but it's a status, right? So it's something that we started talking about very early on. Jamil came in, thank God, Freedom Team idea, and that's something worth talking about, but it's not necessarily going to be a recommendation, in my opinion, from our committee. So so what I would then go through here, and as you can see, I have not built these out, but what I'm thinking is a slide per recommendation. Okay, that gets into, okay, the background, what are we trying to do here? Review, which this is a great example, this one right here. Okay. There's been a lot of work done here. I think a number of people have been involved, including yourselves. Ms. Curran, I know Bob, you've been involved, and certainly Ms. Swope. So, reporting back, and then what is the actual recommendation, and then are there action items and open items that we need to address? So does this make sense to everybody? And you're not going to see anything else in here. I mean, these are the 4 that I would love to see us get to if we have enough time. The bathrooms, safe space norms, training, and the sister city.
Those are great. Do you want us to fill in, each of us, so Bob, Kate and I fill in the gender neutral bathrooms info for you, Tom, or how did you want to handle that?
I think I have most of it. So
Okay.
I wanted to have it done for this meeting, at least, again, more of a draft, and today got away from me for a variety of reasons, day job stuff, right? So
Mhm.
over what I'm going to try to do is over the next couple of days, at least kind of just bake out an initial slide for each of these, and then send it off to who I think is, super involved with these types of things, with, work with Angela, obviously, in the sister city. We have a meeting tomorrow, our newly minted training task force, with Elena, Kate, myself, and Bob. So what can that look like? And at least get some information on the slides. Then we'll just keep circulating drafts, and there's no pride in authorship. Rip it up. You might have a better idea for how we ultimately present this to the select board. I don't care.
Being on the receiving end, I think it's a great format. I mean, I think it's very concise and be very clear. And I think that sometimes is the difficulty when other committees come in front, it's just very nebulous. So this seems really targeted. And if folks all agree on the topics to present, I love your, obviously your strategy and your organization.
Other thoughts? Anybody?
Is the thought to, for us just to view the document on Slack and make changes? Or would we have another committee meeting to finalize and vote on what's actually being presented? Because we're meeting once a month, so our next meeting is until December 14th. Does it make sense to have a meeting in between the meeting with the select board?
I think so. So December 21st, Ms. Curran. It's not going to be a busy week for anybody.
Well, it's budgeting
If it's on-
season, but let's get you in there. Yeah, let's get you in there early and make sure we get you in there early.
I'll be around. Yeah, I'll be around.
Yeah, I like the presentation, Tom. I agree with Mara. I think this is, it's easy to follow. It's clear. It, reminds everyone of what our charge is. So I think this is a great format. And if we can have the final versions on our next meeting and then present it on the 21st, I think that's a good timeline.
Okay. Elena, were you going to mention something?
I was just going to ask a historical question, being a little bit newer. Have we presented to the select board before in this way, or is this something new? I see Natasha shaking her head. I guess I was just wondering, you mentioned there was some feedback shared from the select board. So just if there was any action items or any of that feedback that we wanted to address in this presentation, just to close loops, or I'm also curious maybe what the feedback was, but I can probably find out offline.
Well, I think
Yeah.
it's on Slack, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah. It's probably on Slack. I can also send it to you,
I can look.
Elena. Well, I know exactly where it is, so you don't have to go crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right here.
Well, like, I was gonna say the biggest thing we got was that review, report, recommend. Like that was said like over and over and over again. We came, I could think maybe we were a brand new baby committee, right? And we didn't really
Yeah,
know what we were supposed to be saying to the select board. So we came with a bunch of ideas that were really good ideas, but they weren't like flushed out on how the select board can like make them actionable or like what we were asking them to do.
Mhm.
And so their big thing was like with the bathrooms, like we'll go and look at all the bathrooms and tell us what we need to do to make them gender neutral, right? Like what are you recommending we do besides make them gender neutral? Like what do we like? Do we have to put signs up? Do we have to do building projects? Like what are you asking for? You know? So it was just sort of flushing those and doing that work and fleshing that out a bit more. So I think this is actually excellent as somebody who has to hear project proposals all the time in a willy-nilly great idea kind of way. I would love it if my parishioners came to me with this. It'll never happen, but I think it would be great.
That's super helpful context. Thank you. It sounds like feedback I give my team all the time. So this is great. We all work, some of us work in corporate America, and this is amazing.
yeah. I mean, there's definitely a reason behind these 5 bullets, right? So, and it's based on exactly what Natasha just said, right? And it's no, you know, again, love Nikki, right? So Nikki was the one, I mean, she went in there, right? And she had great ideas, and a lot of her ideas or previous ideas, I don't want to give any one person credit, are some of the recommendations that we're going to make in December, right? It's just, we've needed this time now to flush them out and perform the proper due diligence to hopefully get those recommendations adopted, right? Because that's the goal. I mean, so.
And then Maura, does the select board like vote in the coming meetings on these recommendations, or it kind of just depends on what the recommendation is and when?
I think it would just depend upon the discussion, Elena. So for instance, you know, with the gender neutral bathrooms, there's probably been a lot of progress made there. You know, the signage has been reviewed. So, you know, we
Okay.
probably want to include that and identify that, you know, we've been working with Kevin Kelly. You know, there have been a lot of steps that have already been taken where the board might be like, yeah, that's great. You know, Jim, let's make sure we get that done, sort of thing. With training, you know, there may be, you know, when we unpack training, it's just dependent on the topic, right? To make sure that, you know, whoever in the town government is going to be responsible for executing and implementing that we have the resources. So I think your timing's really good, because as we look at some of these things, we are in the budgeting process. So as we're looking at Bob's, you know, budget, right? If we look at the training budget and we say, all right, is this going to cover what we need to do additionally for DEI? So it helps us to be equipped and with those questions as well, and to support Bob too, when he comes back and says, you know, I need an extra $20,000, whatever that number is. We can say, hey, this was, you know, highly recommended by the DEI. We support Bob in this additional ask. So that's just an example. One such example of how I think the timing's great and how the board would respond to it.
Awesome. Thank you.
I actually just had two very miscellaneous questions on this. One, more as you're talking about, you know, trainings and budget, I'm wondering if we can get some comparables to other towns that have a DI budget, or if they'd be willing to share, you know, this is annually the budget that we put towards it. So if we're asking for a different number than what Bob currently has, we can say that this is on par with industry standard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take a leap here and say that there probably aren't a lot of DEI budgets out there. But Bob might know from some of his colleagues, there aren't even a lot of towns that have HR directors, Kate. So
Fair enough.
Yeah. So
well, we find just the one other one that
exactly.
it could be standard, right?
We can put a call out. Jim can put a call out to his TAs during this. I'll make a note to do that and see if there are any DEI budgets, coming in the 2023 season.
And I work pretty closely with other local human resources directors, and so we're communicating on a somewhat regular basis. So I can reach out to them as well. I know that Duxbury has done a fair amount of work in this regard. So, but I can see. I agree with Maura. I'm not sure that we'll see that there's a lot of dedicated DEI training budget out there. But let's see. But so I can certainly reach out and find out what's happening around other towns.
That sounds great. Yeah, fair enough. I just thought, whenever I'm trying to make a sell of something right, I feel like the comps are really helpful to be able to provide. And also just thinking about imagery, keeping it simple. But Tom, I just emailed you the signage that we're looking at for the gender neutral bathrooms that we could put on there.
Did you decide on one yet?
We've got one that we like. We can show, maybe even you can do a screen when we get to that point. And then thinking, I think, and this isn't a high priority item, but it would be nice for the Scituate DEI group to have a logo.
Any graphic artists? Any graphic artists?
I was just going to say, any graphic. Elena, you're in marketing, aren't you?
Yeah, there you go.
Not that kind of marketing.
He's
but
a strategist.
There you go. Someone read my resume.
Not at all a high priority item, but just sort of thinking about.
Well, look, I'm certain, I can tap into somebody if that's something that you're looking for. If you want me to do that, I know a friend who's a very good graphic artist, and I'm sure she'd be, thrilled to try to put something together for us to take a look at. Unless you have ideas, Kate.
That would be cool.
I have no ideas. I was just thinking that would be nice to have.
It would be. Okay. I'm on it.
Okay. And so the slide that I just had, so this is the last slide. Doesn't have to be the last slide, but I think it'll be important to not just, and Nikki did this too, right? So it was, her report had recommendations and also just progress updates, right? So, I feel, and I'm certainly guilty of it. We hit the ground running. We did a number of meetings with priority town departments, and that's great. And we still have to go back to them, but there's only so much bandwidth we all have, right? Mm-hmm. So we've zeroed in on a handful of opportunities, and I think, and we talked about this in our last meeting, when I threw out, hey, should we start targeting other town departments? Well, let's nail the stuff that we're working on now, and then in 2022 we can jump at the other town departments.
Yeah, because you almost spent this first half getting your baseline right. Really.
We did.
Having those initial meetings. Yeah.
We did. So, but at least we can give an update to the select board that we have. And we've got a lot of information, especially from the Scituate Police Department. Chief has been great, Lieutenant O'Shea. We've got reams of notes and follow-ups with the various town departments that we did meet with. We just don't have anything necessarily meaty and concrete right now that will evolve into a recommendation, certainly by December 21st.
And Tom, did you give yourself credit, like at the top? I'm just looking up at the top. The first two lead slides, what you have all been doing for the past, 10 months, 11 months. So we have the goals, and then your next page is opportunities in flight projects. So, maybe somewhere you do call out that you have spent a lot of time, visiting with all the departments, and, your next step is to, evaluate, to review and make recommendations. Give yourselves credit because you all spent a lot of time meeting with a lot of different departments.
Yeah. I don't like having other people watch me type because I've become the worst typer in the world, so I'm just not going to do that. Okay. Thank you. We will do that. All right. That is the deck. And I know I've flipped some stuff around here. Let me stop that share. And I will bring up the workbook just to see if we do have updates. Where is it? Okay, here we are. And we just touched on some of these things, but okay, so, and yeah, so a number of these things we're gonna have to, so now we've got some dates, right? So we're gonna have to get some real stuff done. And look, if we don't get to 4 concrete recommendations, we only present 3, we only present 3. So, and everybody's busy, we're going into the holidays. I know I, for one, am looking forward to seeing some family that I haven't seen a lot of since COVID. So, but to the extent that we can get this stuff done, that's great. So gender neutral bathrooms. So Kate, you just sent me signage.
Yeah, I sent you signage, and Bob, I think, I don't know, Tom, if you can do a screen share on that. Bob,
Sure.
I think we settled on this one, but correct me if I'm wrong, the sort of all gender, restroom image, or did we just wanted to go with restroom, right?
Right, I believe we shared it with the committee and there was support as well, I recall.
So I may have sent you, let's see, I may have sent you the other one. Yeah. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see some signage. But Bob, I think we talked about this one and then we just talked about restroom, right?
Right. And, we looked at it from our end. I've talked to the town administrator about it. He likes it as well. So, if there's no objections, I think this works fine for us.
I think my question was, Bob, I don't think I got an answer, are all of the designated all gender restrooms handicap accessible and up to code? That's what concerned me about this
I
sign.
mean, I think we do have to go back and review each of those. I think most of them are, but
Okay,
in some of the older buildings, there's the possibility that there's an issue there. But so again, I obviously, if it wasn't handicap accessible, we would be able to use this particular.
right.
But that's something we actually have to go back again and sort of double check that with the facilities director.
Okay.
But
Because that's why I was wondering if we might need 2, one like this where it is indeed handicap accessible, then another one that just calls out that it's all gender. I don't know.
Yep. I think we'll probably need 2 and more. We did put that on our plan. That's part of what Kevin's looking into is, are these restrooms handicap accessible and up to code?
Mhm.
And if not, can we get a quote on bringing them up to code if we think it would be a fairly straightforward thing? Of course, sometimes it isn't. And then getting the quotes on a couple of the facilities that we wanted to see if we could turn into all gender restrooms, single use restrooms.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think, Tom, the update on this is we still have quotes pending. We should have those shortly. And as we've talked before, the vast majority of the facilities that we identified either has a single use bathroom available. And so then it's just the price of the signage, which is going to be, very easy, right? Very low hanging fruit. And there are a few properties that there's a question about with some improvements. Could it be made, a single use bathroom? But I think we're pretty happy that most of the buildings will have the option for a single use bathroom. And then it's really just signage. Bob, thank you for your email earlier around the library and just sort of conversations on the language on that. So I don't know, Bob, if you want to share a little bit about your conversation with the library director.
Sure. Well, in the new library, there's there's two multi-stall bathrooms, primary bathrooms, and multi-stall, male and female. So they obviously wouldn't be appropriate for a gender-neutral bathroom. But there's a hallway that is it's a locked hallway that's actually off to the it's near the front of the building, which has two single stall bathrooms, which we could convert to or have put up signage for gender neutral bathrooms. The issue is that space is something that isn't regularly monitored by staff. So we can allow access to that area if someone requests it, but the request has to be made. So it's just not a hallway we can just keep open all the time because it's unmonitored basically. So what the discussions that we've been having is that, we would put up a sign by the male and female bathrooms that basically says we were thinking of using the terminology the verbiage, single stall bathroom available, ask for a key at the front desk. And then any individual who wants a single stall bathroom could actually get the key to that hallway from the front desk. And so again, it could serve as a gender neutral bathroom. It could also serve, there could be other purposes. It could be, someone wants to use it to as a family bathroom to bring a child to a space that's sort of dedicated to single stall. So Jessie Finney, the library director, was fine with that. She's actually talked to some people who have actually, kind of done some work in this field to try to determine whether or not that was sort of an acceptable solution to this kind of situation we had. And the feedback she received was that would be fine. So that's the other. I think there's a little bit of a kind of workaround there, but I think that plan I think will ultimately get us to where we want to go with this.
Okay.
And who did she get that advice from?
It was an organization. It was and I forget, it was like National Library Association had put on a training and was specifically working with people who were the LGBTQ community and how to best serve that population. And I think that what they did is they actually ended up talking to that presenter and had a side conversation saying like, this is our dilemma. This is something, this was a couple of years ago, they had this conversation. And they presented the issue, and that was the solution that trainer, sort of expert in the field, recommended to us.
I'm curious what the rest of the committee thinks of that.
The workaround,
Yeah.
having to go and ask for a key.
It's not ideal.
That was my initial thought. Is it almost, makes it more of an issue. It kind of takes away that, kind of adds a stigma, right? And that's what we're trying to remove.
I was wondering if it calls
It's a
more
great
attention
question.
to it rather
Yeah.
than,
Well,
just
it
being a
does.
thing that, I mean, you gotta own that you want that. And some people with small children might be happy to own that they just want to go use it so their kid can run around while they go to the bathroom or whatever. But
Well, and if
you
there's
know,
two of them, and if
other
there's
people
two
might have
single
others.
use, yeah, and if there's two single use, maybe one is deemed a family and the other one is deemed gender neutral. Because you said there were two over there, right, Bob?
Right, I believe there's two in that hallway.
Yeah, I mean, in that door that is, maybe you don't open up the door when you walk in to the right, but the other door can be unlocked, so you can easily see folks going in and out of there. I think that, in my opinion, I think it warrants a little bit more discovery, because I don't like it. I'll be honest with you. I think it should be easier,
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's a conference room that's down there, and I think that
Yeah, there
I
are two
think-
conference rooms. Yeah,
Right,
and
right,
yeah.
right. And so I think the concern is that they want to have a general sense of where any of the patrons are, and it's relatively minimally staffed. And so when you open up one, it's not a wing, but one area of the library that you're not necessarily staffed to monitor, they're concerned that, who ends up, if you just leave the door open, for instance, and anyone can go in there and decide to use a conference room and do whatever in there, they're a little bit concerned about whether or not they have the ability to adequately staff and monitor that. So I think that was Jesse's concerns, and so we were trying to figure out how do we still kind of sort of acknowledge her concerns about sort of the safety of the space, and but still kind of get us to the point where it's somewhat accessible. We initially, there was a conversation about whether or not we say, gender neutral bathrooms available down the hallway, but that really puts a stigma because that individual is needing to ask for a key. So by saying it's single stall, you could be using it for multiple purposes. It could be any reason, really. So we were hoping that hopefully it doesn't have the same stigma by calling it just a single stall bathroom as opposed to a gender neutral bathroom,
I wonder, Bob, are there any cameras at the library?
I do not believe there's cameras at the library. I'm not positive, but I don't believe so.
I mean, it's an option we could suggest and price out. And then I think more to your point, the workaround is not ideal. And we could sort of say, here's a couple different options, right? The build out for a whole new single stall bathroom on the first floor would probably be quite expensive. Plan B would be, here is the price for minimal, CC cameras that the front desk could monitor. Then things could be unlocked, but without any additional staffing, they could monitor it. Or here's what additional staffing would look like the cost for that. And then we could sort of consider all of those options.
And honestly, I mean, particularly it is a public building, anyone can go in there. And so one of the concerns that it's not just unique to this library, but any really sort of public facility that has single stall bathrooms, and particularly with like the drug epidemic that we have currently in this country, sometimes people use single stall bathrooms to use. And so do you really want a situation in which anyone can easily access a single stall bathroom, potentially overdose, and then we have no knowledge that someone's even in there, to be honest with you? And so that the other advantage of knowing, giving the key to someone, that if someone is actually in that area. And if they don't come out for a period of time, that there's potentially an issue. And I know that's a sort of extreme example, but it's just a reality, and particularly with the current opiate epidemic that we have in this country. So and honestly, it's another consideration. So this strategy that we have of asking for the key and keeping the hallway unlocked, there's that advantage is that it addresses that issue as well.
Do folks have to currently ask for a key? Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, right.
Well, it sounds like people don't even know that it's there.
Just for those restrooms, the male and female is open, right? Yeah. It's unlocked. But you would have to know about a single stall bathroom and then ask for the key. So right now, I don't think there isn't signage about the single stall bathroom, but if somebody knew, they could ask for the key.
Correct,
I mean, the other thing, and I wouldn't suggest this, but if we're thinking about a little bit more equity, we can lock all bathrooms and you ask for a key for 100% of the bathrooms. I'm not suggesting it. That sounds like an administrative nightmare. But thinking about, and I hear you, Bob. I've worked in substance use treatment facilities and all that stuff, and the single use bathrooms can be a real concern when it comes to safety. I think cameras might be a minimal expense that could be reviewed by front desk staff, and then you have an idea of who's there at any point. Might be a workaround on it.
And I think I had mentioned earlier, I mean, I worked for 28 years for the City of Boston's homeless shelter. So we oversaw the shelters, Southampton Street Shelter in Boston, for instance. And we had single stall bathrooms, particularly exactly for this reason. But again, we would only, particularly in the shelter, this was a significant concern, the overdose issue. So this was our practice, the same practice. If someone wanted to use that bathroom, they actually had to ask for a key. But in that case, the security became like obviously the overriding concern that really sort of dictated many of our policies, to be honest.
And there's no other option in the main part of the library, both the male and the female or multi-stall. There's no third handicap option.
I actually think that there is and I think it may be off the children's room. I think that there is a family bathroom downstairs that is a single stall, and it has the baby the changing table. I believe that may be in the basement, so that could serve as well. But it's downstairs, and I think it may be off the children's room. So it's
Like, I'll have to look at it. Take a trip over, take a look at it.
Yeah.
Right.
So what I would want to share is just a couple things to consider. To make the bathroom gender neutral and then have folks, I think folks said this, but I'll just reiterate the point, that have folks ask for a key defeats the reason for having the gender neutral bathroom. That really takes away from it. The other thing is, I mean, I encourage folks to do research if you want to, but I don't know that there's a correlation between making a bathroom gender neutral and crime. And so that's something that folks can look at. But I know that Bob has this experience where he was, and so there was something that happened there. But in a general sense, that hasn't been the report.
No, and I think he meant single use, not gender neutral, when he was making that reference.
Okay. All right. And then the last thing I'll say, I mean, is it possible to pilot it? Say, you know what, for about 3 months, we'll give this a shot, see what happens. I mean, like if you started it December, come February, folks can reconvene and say, hey, how did this work? Or did it not work, kind of thing. And if it worked, give it another 3 months or so, then you got half a year going. And some of this, and that not only gives the opportunity to reassess or assess what's happening, it also gives folks some history with it and opportunity to kind of adjust to something that folks may initially have some hesitancy on. So again, the pilot could be 3 months, could be 2 months, who knows? But from what I understand, the library is definitely a beloved place. It is where a number of people go and have a great experience, and so I think this could be another great piece to it. So there's a couple things I wanted to just share with folks.
Well, there's a couple facilities we had talked about actually visiting, and I think we had want to go over to the Maritime Center. I think that was the name of it. So maybe we do that, Kate. Maybe we take a trip over to the library and really look at the space, the facility, and have a conversation with the library director, and maybe we could sort of flush this out a little bit further. But
I'm with you. I'd love to do that.
I think that sounds like a great idea. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
These are good.
All right. Thank you for that. Let's keep moving. Angela, any other discussion on the sister city?
No.
Okay.
No, I think like we talked during our last meeting, I think we have a lot of the information from the chairs of the other sister cities that we met with in September. I think they gave us the blueprint as far as what the board normally receives to approve establishing a new city. So I think it's just putting it together in a presentation format Unless you think there was something else that we still needed. Because a lot of
No.
the things will be determined once that committee is formed. So
Yeah,
this
exactly.
this recommendation is just to,
Create the committee.
create the committee, exactly.
Have we gauged the interest of Cape Verde? Did I say that right? Because I know I've been saying it wrong for years, so.
It's really hard. I'm trying to myself to use Cabo Verde more often, but Cape Verde, it's just what we're used to,
Okay.
So I think we all get a pass.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a sense of their willingness to have a sister city yet? Or no? You think you have to form a committee first?
Well, the interest here in Scituate or the interest in Cabo Verde?
There.
Yeah. I think they would welcome it. I think they would welcome. They love their American friends and family. And there definitely is the interest in the Cape Verdean community and the non-Cape Verdean community in Scituate to participate in.
And Angela, correct me if I'm wrong, you also had conversations and they have other sister cities, right?
Yes.
In
Yeah,
other
they
towns.
do.
So this is a program that they know how to do and readily do with other locations, right?
Yeah, there's a sister city with Praia. Praia is the capital. That's a big city with Boston. So Boston has a sister city with Praia. And there's other communities that have sister cities in Portugal.
Okay. All right. So, Angela, I'll just mention real quick. I'll just reach out to you offline, and we'll figure out what else we need to do to, get left off with this. Sorry, who did I cut off?
I was just saying Fall River has a sister city in Portugal, and they do quite a bit with them. So that might be a good place to reach out for. I mean, I know it's Portugal, it's different, but if you need pointers for how to run things on our end, they might be a good organization.
Yeah.
Well, we have the two, Natasha.
Yeah, we've got two as well, but yeah.
France and Ireland, and I'm not sure if you were. I'm not sure if it was the last meeting or the meeting before that, but they were fantastic when Angela and I.
Oh, I
met
missed
them.
them.
Yeah, they both
Sorry.
they're bending over backwards and they want to help in any way they can.
Okay, great, good. Never mind. Disregard my comment.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Mara, I just wanted to ask, did when you drove around on Sunday, did you see a lot of Ireland flags? Because I told my husband to put ours out and I don't think he did.
So I didn't join that tour, but they did comment on how many they saw. So a lot of people got the message and definitely put them up.
Good.
So yeah, which was nice. And Cohasset as well too, but I think Scituate did a better job.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going. I'm just going to tackle the big one. So, well, safe space norms. I think that's also something we take offline. We've got a number of different documents, suggestions, great ideas. And, it's what is, I think this scope, well, I guess one thing I do want to bring up. So I'm not too worried about this group coming up with a declaration, right, for our committee. The question and my assumption is that our recommendation is that we would like to have something read at, and I'll just say all of it, town meeting, select board meetings, committee meetings, council meetings. Is that too wide of a scope? No, good. Okay. So that's what we're going for, right? We all agree? Okay. All right. So that's our charge, right? Is to come up with something that, or maybe there's a couple of options that people can pick from, if that makes sense. But I think that's the goal here, if we all agree with that. Okay. then I'm going to keep going. So I think the last one I want to touch on tonight is the training. And like I think I mentioned this earlier, we have an initial meeting scheduled for tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. Elaine has already sent around a couple of, what were they, LinkedIn trainings? Okay.
Yeah, linked trainings and or external vendors, depending on how we go, what we do.
Yeah, I mean, there's budget implications. So we're gonna have to talk about all of that, right? I mean, we brought in training for our company. We didn't break the bank, but it also wasn't cheap.
Yep.
Right. So we have to be realistic.
Yep, definitely.
Right. And Bob, I know you've got ideas because we've touched on it in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have, I reached out to some, I have some quotes as well, some possibilities. So yeah, we can certainly talk more tomorrow.
Okay. All right. That's all I planned on covering as far as our current project list, opportunities, etc. That doesn't mean that that's all we need to discuss. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to bring up along those lines? Okay. All right.
That looks great.
Well, we're winding it down. So I did get a list from someone, maybe it was you, Maura, with the future select board dates, because we were kind of waiting on those to see if we could. Okay, thank you. To lock in our future meetings. And as of now, unless people object, I think we can stay with our second Tuesday of every month.
And Mr. Secor, you are still sharing your screen if you wish to stop that.
Thank you, Seth. Okay, so
Man behind the curtain talks again.
I know the voice coming down. Right. So, you know, I'll talk to Ruth and we'll get this reflected in the minutes, but we are scheduled to meet December 14th, and then, you know, you can just look at your calendar, but January 11th, February 8th, March 8th, and so on. So, and we'll publish that in every meeting. And, you know, if we need to move some things around because of school vacations or anything of that nature, we can do that. Okay. Does anyone have anything else they would like to bring up? Okay, so full steam ahead. We've got our dates. I'm excited. So with that, I would like to motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second? Second from Mr. Six Tiger. Okay, I'll take the roll. Mr. Six Tiger.
Present.
Ms. Galata. Reverend Stewart.
Yes.
Ms. Swope. Everybody's
Yes.
on. Ms. Dre.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. That's it. Thanks, everybody.
Great progress. Thanks,
Hey,
everyone. Happy Thanksgiving if we don't see you before then.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thanks all.